welcome to my A320 build part 3. So before we get started building it, I'll just quickly show what the A320 is at the moment. In the previous build video you saw me build this pedestal, so as you can see this is now in place. And what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be building the computer to run the flight simulator, because before I was using FSX, but that's not really up to the challenge these days, so I've upgraded to X-Plane, which is a lot harder to run because of the better graphics. So we'll look at that in a minute. So it's not really that different to the video before that, A320 build part 1, where you saw me build this panel, and then in the best way to make backlit panels you saw me make the landing gear panel. So I'm just going to show you this panel here. Okay, so before I made the landing gear panel using a very good method that I basically found out how to do myself, using paper. It's very good to do it very cheap, but obviously it doesn't look quite the best. So this panel here, which is for the computer control panel, so this is like, well, before I had the computer in a standard computer case near the back, although now I'm going to build it into the flight simulator. So I need an actual panel to control the computer. So this is the panel for that. So this is, as you can see, main computer. We've got the power button, and then I might add a HDD LED in the future. So there's room to add that. So this was made using 2 layers of acrylic, a CNC machine, and a vinyl cutter, and obviously a piece of vinyl. So I don't have a CNC machine or a vinyl cutter, so I did this one at school. So you've got the 2 separate layers. You cut them out, stick them together, and then you cut out the vinyl and put it on. You need to paint the acrylic white as well before you do it, although I'll probably do a tutorial on this at some point. So now we're going to get on and build the flight sim. So at the moment, in the at the bottom of the pedestal, it's just the carpet because there's no bottom to it. So to mount the computer on, I'm going to use this piece of MDF. So that's going to fit in there nicely, hopefully, at the bottom. So I've marked it here, so now we're just going to go cut this on the table saw in the shed. Okay, so now I've cut this nice panel, we can now begin to assemble the computer. So here, this is the motherboard, obviously, and if you want to know what motherboard this is, then I have the box right here. It is the Gigabyte A320-DS2, which is funny because this is an A320, so it's almost like it's made for the task. So I'm going to I think I'll align it to that edge there, and I'm going to have some room here for graphics cards and stuff. So the CPU that goes in this is going to be a Ryzen 5 1500X. So the one that was in this before was a AMD 860K, which I think both the graphics card and the CPU weren't really up to the task, but I thought I'd upgrade the CPU first, mainly because I don't have any money left. So before I screw the motherboard down, I'm going to install the CPU and the heatsink, because the heatsink that comes with this, it requires these 2 quick release clips to be removed. So first of all, I'm going to carefully remove the CPU from the packaging. Going to open up the retention clip, find the little arrow so you know which way it lines up, and then gently place the CPU into the socket like that, and then push the retention clip back down. So there's our CPU solidly mounted. So now I'm going to unscrew these two brackets, because this heatsink here, as you can see, doesn't have the quick release brackets. It has its own screw threads. So I'm just going to remove that. The CPU comes with a heatsink program already applied. So now we just need to place the heatsink down onto the CPU like this. And then we can slowly and carefully tighten it down onto the socket. There we go, that's those all screwed in tightly. So now I'm going to attach the motherboard to the base. So this base is MDF, so I don't need to use their motherboard standoffs. Because in a normal PC case, you would they're made of metal, so you don't want the bottom of the motherboard to be touching it, or it'll short out. So, but I don't need that on this motherboard, because obviously it's not made of metal, so there's no risk of anything shorting out. So I'm just going to screw it down using these screws. Okay, so there are all our screws mounted. So now I'm going to install the graphics card. So this is the same graphics card as before, which is a RX 470 8GB one. So I'm hoping this will do the job for now until I can upgrade it. So we're just gonna ease that in. Like that. So it would also be good to have a mount to hold the graphics card in, because as you can see there's quite a bit of movement which puts strain on the socket. So I might do that later. And then I'm just going to install the second graphics card, which is can't remember what it is, but it's something really really rubbish, because this is just for the main instrument screens. So that slots in there like that. So now I've basically got to put this in the computer. Okay, so as you can see, I've now put the computer into the pedestal. So now what I need to do is put a bar across here, and that's where the graphics cards are going to screw into. And this gives them some more support, because at the moment the main graphics card is leaning against the other one, which obviously isn't very good. So I'm just going to cut a piece of wood that I'll go across there. Okay, so here's the stick that I just cut in the shape. So this is going to mount here to support the graphics card. So I'm going to drill a couple of holes in it, and then we can screw it together. Okay, so I've just installed this beam here. So now I'm going to screw in the graphics cards into this beam. Now I'll put this one in. Before I put it in, I'm actually just going to put this adapter in, which is a PCI express power connector to a Molex adapter, because the power supplies I'm using don't have that. Probably because they're cheap power supplies, but you know. So now I'll do exactly the same for this one. Okay, so there are our two power supplies mounted. Not power supplies, graphics cards. Okay, so we're nearly ready to boot up the computer. There's only a couple more things we need to do. So first of all, I'm going to install the RAM. This is 8 GB of DDR4 RAM. My flight sim could do with a bit more, but it's 80 quid a stick, so I'm going to start off with this and then can add more later if needed. So now the RAM's installed. Now I need to install the hard drive, so I'll just grab that, which is this right here. It's just a standard 250 GB drive. So just going to clip this SATA cable in and then into the hard drive. And then obviously we're going to need some power. So I've got the power supply here. And I'm not sure if this will be enough, because this is quite a cheap one. And I don't think it quite has the wattage needed. But it should be enough to see if it boots up. Just making sure none of the fans are obstructed. So we're nearly there now. So I'm going to plug in all of the displays, which are quite a few. First we've got the MFD and PFD, and then the TVs. And I just need to grab the adapter for the VGA one. And finally, can plug in the power supply. Now we just need to turn it on. Okay, so I've just turned on this computer, and thankfully it's all still working. It's the next day because I had to install, I had to change the drivers and stuff, and you know, change stuff. So now I'm just installing X-Plane, which is estimating it takes 3 hours. So I think we'll leave that for the next video. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. The next video hopefully will be on starting the autopilot stuff. So stay tuned for that. Bye.